Hey everyone, it's Suey here, and I'm going to continue on with my tag roll and do a tag, another tag. There's so many tags going around right now. I don't know if you guys are feeling it. I'm feeling it. I just have to decide which one I'm doing first right now. Let's do the spoiler book tag. This one was created a few years ago by Scott at Gunpowder Fiction Plot, and I was tagged by Stuart Griffin. This one is just about my ideas on spoilers and spoiling, I guess. So, first up, what do you consider a spoiler? Obviously, it is a spoiler if you talk about how it ends, or if someone dies, or maybe if there's some sort of twist that you don't see coming, or a big, huge plot point. I feel like if you are setting up a story and talking about a story, anything that happens in the first chapter or so, even if it's a big thing, is not necessarily a spoiler. That's just the hook, right? And if you're trying to promote a book or tell somebody about a book, then I feel like that kind of thing's okay. But yeah, those other things definitely are spoilers. Number 2, does the genre you're reading impact what you consider to be a spoiler? Yes. If it's a suspense, thriller, mystery thing where whatever is the ending is huge and something that you don't see coming and something that you want to try and figure out while you're reading, that's specific to that genre. Romance, the spoiler of them getting together is not a spoiler because you know that's how it's going to end. Maybe how they're going to get together or what sort of conflict they have to overcome is a spoiler in romance, but not necessarily how it ends because they're going to get together. So yes, genre does have an impact on what's a spoiler. Number 3, all the best bits are in the trailer, and sometimes the synopsis can be too detailed. Do you research books prior to reading them, or do you prefer to know nothing about the book? Most of the time, I prefer to know nothing. I'm not a huge reader of the backs of the books, the blurbs or the flaps or whatever. I mean, I do look at them sometimes. That's not what makes me want to buy a book, usually. And I avoid them often because I feel like they do have spoilers in them. It's so annoying sometimes. People, don't spoil your books in your blurbs. I would say that for the most part, I just want a little hint about what a book is, or, maybe the trope that it is, or something like that. And I don't care about the deep plot points. Sometimes I feel like booktubers go into too much detail in their book reviews, and I have seen a lot of people talking about how they don't like non-detailed reviews. Like they want to know a lot more about the story, and I'm like, but I am one that when I'm talking about a book, I'm not going to tell you very much about it. I don't want to go into all that detail. I want you to find out about it. I'm not going to tell you everything about the book. Typically a review by its very nature is going to tell you more about the book. But for me, I just want to say, hey, this is a great book. You should read it. And then you go and read it only because of that. So yeah, so I talk very little about books. I will give summaries without spoiling. Is this what the question is? I feel like I have gone off on a tangent. Who knew? Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, I don't want to know a whole lot. So that's how I typically talk about books on my channel here, is to not say a whole lot about them. Sometimes I'll say more than other times, but that's my typical way to approach stuff. And I know some people are annoyed by that. I'm so sorry. Okay, number 4. Sometimes the introduction or translator's notes can spoil the ending, especially for classics. I just talked about this the other day in a tag or something. I can't remember what I was talking about. Has this ever happened to you? Yes, for sure. Do not read introductions on classics. They're going to have this big, huge essay about the whole book. And if you want to know how the book goes down, you should not read the introduction until afterwards. And then the insight that they have about the whole book will be much more meaningful to you if you've already read the book. Sometimes I'll scan through it and I can kind of get a vibe for if they're going to tell the whole story or if they're just kind of giving background. Now, background to a book or a classic is kind of nice. Now, I just started the Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and the introduction, I did read it because I felt like it was a bit of a background story and not telling me the whole story of the book I'm about to read. Do you know what I mean? So it depends. Number 5, name a time somebody spoiled a novel for you. I'm sure somebody has, but I cannot think of a time. It must not have been a big deal to me because I do not remember. Number 6, have you ever spoiled a novel for somebody else? I hope not, but I probably have, not intentionally. I know often at book club, some people will come to the discussion and they haven't read the book yet, and we will always say to them, are you okay if we just talk about this freely? Which, I mean, I feel like that's a given, that if they're coming to book club, having not read the book, they know that the book will be spoiled for them. But we always make sure it's okay for them anyway. And so then we talk about the book. So yes, I probably spoiled books there, but that is kind of a different situation, if you know what I mean. If I spoiled books other than that, I don't know about it. Sometimes on here, like I said, sometimes I will talk more open and freely about a book, but I will hopefully let you know if I do that. Number 7, if spoilers ruin novels, are there some authors or genres you can't reread? You know, I mean, like I mentioned before, mysteries might not be as great on a reread. Mysteries and some thrillers and twisty, turny, psychological books. But then again, it might be fun to reread them, to see the clues and to know that what's coming and to see that going down a little better the second time around when you know stuff. So I still think you can reread it. That's fine. But maybe it'll just be a different experience, you know? When reviewing, are you spoiler-free? Does this limit your ability to discuss? Yes, I am spoiler-free, I hope. And yes, it does limit the ability to discuss sometimes. So if I feel the need to discuss a book in more detail, or if it's like a real buzzy book and you know that everybody's reading it, then I will give the spoiler warnings. Hopefully I remember to do that. Sequels are sometimes hard to discuss because you have to kind of talk about what happened in the first book, and that's a little tricky without spoiling the first book. So those are issues, I feel like. But like I said a minute ago, usually I'm fine with it because I'm not going to go into that much detail about the story itself anyway. That's my quick spoiler tag. Until next time, happy reading!